Hi there. Our meditation for this is going to be very simple. To take some slow, steady breaths in and out, releasing stress as we exhale. Now we're going to regulate our breathing by counting to 4 on the in-breath, pausing for 4 before we exhale, counting to 4 as we exhale, pausing for 4 before we inhale. This is called squared breathing. I'm going to do it with you. Inhale for 4. Okay. After doing a few rounds, return to breathing normally. The next thing we want to do, take our left hand and move it over to our right knee and then return it. Take our right hand, move it over to the left knee and return it. And now we're going to count to 20 as we do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Take a nice deep breath. Exhale completely. And resume normal breathing. We have now synced both sides of our body, both hemispheres of our brain. And as we go into the reading, we set the intention for this or something better, meaning we will not be limited by what we encounter in the reading, that we will only use it for our highest good and the highest good of all. And if there is something better, we wish to line up with that. Okay? And let us begin. Hey there. You chose reflection number 1. Your card's pre-dealt, so let's take a look at the message. Each day 1,000 treasures come to me with every passing moment. I am blessed with gifts throughout the day, in value far beyond all things of which I can conceive. Acknowledgement that there's something bigger going on here. Agreements, integrity, love, and trust. High standards. Ask nicely. Acknowledge, validate. Invite to level up. Worry is a wasted emotion. Patience is a virtue. Be patient with yourself. I face life with openness and love. Acknowledging that there's a process of growth going on for you right now. And it's uncomfortable. Let's acknowledge that, okay? That's why it's kind of encouraging your patience and letting you know that the worry isn't going to help the situation. And you're raising your standards, right? And you're doing this in line with your own integrity, meaning what's important to you. So, new home, moving is a step in the right direction for you. To take these things literally, only take what resonates for you, but it could be referencing some sort of change to your home life. For true love, burdens carried silently, financial restraint. Or maybe you feel like you can't really move because of a financial restraint, but somehow your health, it's something to do with your health improving. Bold and make the first move. And I'm going to put that with the new home. So it is asking you to take action on some sort of inspiration that you've received. It's not a rushing thing, right? Clear communication, unconscious pattern. So you've been repeating a loop of energy, and you may not have been aware of it before now. Spend more time in nature. So that's going to help your own clarity. Ursula, an evil sea witch who uses magic and clever songs to exact her revenge on King Triton. This with clear communication and unconscious pattern. I'm starting to think that maybe you've seen this thing that's transforming in your life outside of you. It's like someone else in your life has maybe not even been aware of how manipulative they are and how revengeful they are. They justify it in their minds, or they think like no one would know, so it doesn't matter, kind of things. An airplane. At Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Wright brothers made the first powered airplane flight in 1903. Wow. Make the first move. Putting this with move. So there's some move to be made. See what's been going on. Page of Swords in reverse. So there's been something untruthful. You haven't had the truth. Eight of Cups. You've been burdened emotionally. Queen of Cups in reverse. Someone may be withholding love. Four Swords in reverse. You've been perhaps putting off rest. So maybe you've been taking action, but just not in the direction of what you've been guided to. Four Wands in reverse. So there's no stable foundation here. You're waiting. You're waiting to see another perspective. You may not even know that there's another perspective to be had. That's really important to this situation. Two Swords. You know that you're facing a decision, but you can't really make the decision because you haven't seen from the different point of view that will help you make that decision. King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles is really stable in the earth realm. So I tend to think that the place that's lacking stability is like the what needs to be put in place in order for the soul's evolution, right? Not just the earthly achievements and success that our ego points us towards, but why we're actually here on earth is something more than that, and that part has been neglected here. So there's a need to raise your standards. There's a need to see things differently. You're sort of finding yourself up against a wall that even as you make, like in the way that you know to, you're not getting the results. This is the only way you know something's off. It may be reflected to you in the outer world with like someone else who you notice is kind of acting kind of shady and calling me baby. Say my name, say my name. Someone that's not really for you. Indication of you haven't really been for you. You've been for these patterns that you've been living. The patterns are put there to teach you something. You know, so what did you learn by living in that way? And now it's time to sort of like see a bigger picture view, to see that you've been in a pattern, to see that you've probably been in more than one pattern. There's something far greater than what you've even noticed going on here. You can see it in nature. You can see it in your own biology. It's the things that are important to you. It might be helpful to question why they're important to you, to see what's actually important to you. Apologize if you can hear my tongue and around in my mouth and the sounds that makes, because I just remembered I put the settings on my mic up, so I feel like there's something you can't avoid. Like something's niggling at you, something that sounds like that's a little bit annoying and a little bit like can't ignore it if you want to, and it's actually there trying to get your attention. Is it your heart? Your heart. I'm sorry to giggle, but it just came clear to me, and that made me like kind of happy. Like I got a little bit giddy at the realization that it was your heart, because it's like not something scary or daunting. It's like, although for some people the heart's messages could be scary because maybe you feel like avoidant of heart matters. Maybe you've been hurt in a way that you didn't resolve it yet, and so now you've been avoiding. So for some people, the heart's messages could actually make them feel insecure. But this is sort of like becoming a more whole version of yourself. Being more aware of the wholeness of yourself is a better way to say it. And this is maturing that's going on within you. This message is about reassuring you, like, it's understood that this is what's going on. You might not be someone who would share that with people. No one might know what you're going through, and maybe you wouldn't share it because of who you are and how you are, or just that you don't have anyone that you think could get it around you. And you feel confused as to how your health is suffering and how your finances are suffering. And it's just because this is a little bit of a time where it's like you're being asked to kind of withdraw yourself a little bit and really get clear on what that move is that you're going to make. Really see things allow yourself to see things from a different perspective, an expanded view. What are the worry? The things you're worrying about can be the place where you can kind of start tackling the unearthing of your fears. So with the worry, what's the worst that could happen? And then whatever that is, like, look at that belief within yourself. Like, why do you believe that? Is that true? How can you know it's true? Can you name 3 ways where the opposite is actually true? And it starts to help you untangle these parts of yourself with limiting beliefs. And believe that you can't let the heart weigh in on what you're about to do because you feel like you've made the level of success that you have based on who you are and how you've been. And all this is saying is like, we get that, but also in order to grow to the next level, to raise your standards on yourself, you're going to have to integrate the heart's data because you won't get further than you're at without that. So you are being asked to move into a more whole version of yourself, a greater version of yourself, but not by hating the version that you are now. It's just an enhancement. It's really not even an enhancement, it's like a noticing of the bigger picture, sort of. That's really what's going on here. The truth of things will like come to you, and then you'll understand, you know? So it might be uncomfortable where you're at now, but this process is a gift to you, and it is a process. So if you start thinking about it as a process and being patient with yourself and surrendering the fears and the worry, and know that you are, so to speak. This change is bringing true love into your life. And when I say that, it could mean, that you line up with a true love other person in another body. It could be that. But when I say that, it could just mean the version of yourself that is actually loving. That is a truer version of love. And I just actually uncovered this card, which I didn't know it was stuck behind the other one. It's the Nemo. After being taken from the ocean and put in a dentist's fish tank, he longs to be reunited with his dad. Interesting. It's being reunited with a loved one or that loving part of yourself. Really, that's what's going on here. And this process is going to continue until you complete it. So be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, be loving to yourself, understanding with yourself, and instead of looking outside of yourself for the answers, it's a matter of going inward and asking yourself and self-inquiry and finding out who you are, getting to know yourself better. Why do I think this? Why do I fear that? Why am I worried about this? Why do I want this so bad? What was it that I wanted to achieve and why? And just really, really know yourself and accept fully the version of yourself that you meet in those places. And your heart being one of those places that are in there that is awaiting your attention and love and integration and acceptance. So you are in a process of full integration and discovering the wholeness of who you are. And isn't that beautiful? And that is your message. Chose reflection number 2. This is your message. Do not walk alone. God's angels hover near and all about. His love surrounds you. And of this be sure, that I, Jesus, will never leave you comfortless. Just saw 444 on the clock over there as well. 444 is the angels are with you. It is what you make it. Snake eyes. Interesting. Got a fond memory. Patriarch. It did come in reverse. I'm going to leave it in reverse. Never judge another. Thoughts create your reality. And remember, we got it is what you make it. So there's something here where you need to understand that the reality you're living right now is what you created. It's your creation. Okay? I treat myself to life and I'm treated well by life. Just treat yourself. Okay? So if this is your creation, you're being encouraged not to judge and to treat yourself. Okay? Have you judged someone who was treating themselves, who was indulgent or something like that? We got walk away. Leave the unhealthy situation and enjoy the new doors that open as a result. I'm going to put that over there with a judgment here. Be creative. Fantasy. Fantasy is creative. Time. Do acts of service. Also, God, you no longer recreate the past. So you've exited a cycle. In order to continue, it's like you kind of have to get your balance for a minute. So it's saying you need some sort of safe container to feel safe enough to let some suppressed, repressed, or denied or hidden feelings come out. So what is that container for you? If you're a person who starts telling everyone your business, maybe you want to stop that. You want to keep some things to yourself, maybe do a private journal. If you don't have any privacy like that, it's like write it on a document and then just delete it, But you are process of realizing your power to create your reality. Your commitment is being tested? What is important to you? Purpose. What is important to you? Let's see what's been going on here with the tarot. Actually, let's do the Disney cards first. Wonderland. Alice follows the white rabbit down a rabbit hole. She discovers a strange and fantastic world. I'm putting that with thoughts create your reality, because say you're just realizing this, right? You're just realizing the power of your thoughts, and it can be quite a rabbit hole. It can be quite exciting, and you feel sort of light and magical. And then there's another part of that too, right? It's like, oh, I also created all the challenges for myself here. And that can be a little bit daunting. And that could be something that you want to distract from. And then we got cell phone. A mobile cell phone that lets you call, text, and annoy other people in theaters. LOL. I'm going to put this with never judge another. You know, maybe there's even judgment against people who are doing things like that, who are annoying or who are needy or who are, you know, whatever it may be. Have you ever met somebody who just has something to judge about everybody they meet? Got to start to think it's a lifestyle if you're doing it like that, you know? It's not just an opinion, it's a lifestyle to be judgmental. And I've traced this before to the punishment and reward parenting paradigm, where parents were constantly scanning the children and assessing the situation to determine whether or not they needed to be punished or rewarded. And if you're constantly being monitored by your parents to see if you should be punished, then what they're doing is they're judging you. And then you learn that that's how we go through life. Is I go through life and I decide who's being good and who's being bad. And then all of a sudden, you're pointing your finger at a lot of people outside of yourself as you grow up into adulthood. You've got a judgment for everybody. And you feel very justified in doing so, right? Especially if you had parents that never admitted they made mistakes, or never apologized to you, you know? And you feel very self-righteous in doing that finger pointing and judgment. And it's like that is actually you perpetuating the reality of constantly lining up with people who you believe deserve to be punished. And it's literally a projection of you believing you needed to be punished by your parents. You've adopted their belief. Their belief was that you deserve to be punished. Now you adopted the belief that you deserve to be punished. And then now, because that's kind of hard to live with and when you're an adult, it slips into the subconscious and you project it out. Oh, they deserve to be punished. And really, like, no one deserves to be punished. You know, we learn from our consequences. The consequences of our actions are sufficient to teach us. So it's really this perpetuated war that you're continuing to live in by being in that energy. It's as part of your operating system to scan the surroundings for people that are bad. It's like all that time and energy that you use to do that, and even though you do it without thinking, right? But all the energy that's going towards that could be actually used for something that you enjoy in life, for bettering your life, for doing acts of service, for being creative, for dealing with the suppression, you know, for reprogramming yourself in order to be free and to let others be free, to live our lives and make mistakes because that's how we learn. It doesn't change our value and who we are. Okay, then we got Jack Sparrow. He's quite a rebel, right? This charming pirate scoundrel has sailed the seven seas from Davy Jones's locker all the way to the Fountain of Youth. That's kind of the thing, is like this has spanned your lifetime. You might have noticed yourself judging others in school, and it was really just a mimic of what your parents were operating like. It's not like to blame them or judge them. It's like to notice there's a repeating pattern that's unconsciously been passed along, and it's being brought to your attention so that you may have the opportunity to free yourself from it. You are not free. You're a slave to that pattern right now. And it's not saying punish yourself because you've had the pattern. It's saying, no, treat yourself very well. Celebrate that you've been open to noticing it and then acknowledging it. It's like, can you love yourself even though that has been the case? Is your commitment to pointing the finger and finding the bad guys, or is your commitment to taking good care of yourself? Really, what you think they did, it's just a fantasy. Like, they're just a person living their life, right? Like, they're allowed to make mistakes, fumble through, live their own consequences, and their value doesn't change whether or not you value them. They have inherent value. Angels walk with them too, you know? All right, let's see what's been going on. Page of Cups in reverse. So you've probably, Ace of Cups, missed opportunities to be kind and loving in certain situations. Two Pentacles in reverse. Temperance. And I think you really feel like you're being fair. Six Wands in reverse. You really feel like you're being fair, but you're actually recognized for being a judgmental, pessimistic person. And maybe you have some people around you who are like that too. But some people do notice that you are literally just living in the consequences of your own reality, which you've created. They can see that you are miserable and you're perpetuating your own misery. You might not even feel miserable, but anyone who is looking outside of themselves constantly for who's the bad guy is miserable. They just don't know it. The world. So it is time to end this cycle. Like you're kind of like ready to graduate out of this cycle. It's been annoying to stay in this cycle for as long as you have, I think, for you and other people, but who cares about them right now? It's mostly you need to worry about at this moment. Maybe there'll be amends to be made and all that later. It's difficult to notice this and realize this about yourself because it hurts. It hurts to think that you haven't been the perfect being that you thought you were being. And your ego might take a little bit of a hit, and it's okay. It's like, don't punish yourself. Love that part of that precious part of yourself who just wanted to do the right thing. That's a precious, lovely part of yourself that deserves your love. Was just trying to guide you in the right way and make sure you were doing the right thing. And thought it was appropriate to deem other people as doing the wrong thing so that you knew you were doing the right thing. It was just a misunderstanding. And it was understandable for you to have it. And you can resist ending this cycle by just staying in the same old habit. Or you can start to notice every time you do it. Or you can validate why you have it, but then accept that here you're in a place of being in a position to change it, to alchemize it, and to be free of that pattern so that you can live your life freely while others live their lives freely, and that you're not carrying the burden of a judgment for them. You're also not going through life worried about other people's judgment of you. And this is because you have sat with the feeling of what it feels like to be judged. Think back to your parents and when they judged you. Maybe you can remember a time where you were told you were doing something wrong and you didn't feel like you were wrong. You were just curious. Or someone else just suggested you do it and you went along with it. And it's like you end up getting punished and told you're bad for it and you felt like it was unfair. How does that feel? Remember how that feels and be with the feeling. And when I say be with the feeling, I mean let that feeling be with you without blaming anyone else, wishing it was different, without thinking about the past or the future. Literally just that feeling and let it come into you. Let it be with you. Right? And you're going to be this adult version of you who's handled everything you've handled up till now, being with this feeling, which is kind of like, you can picture it like a child that just needs to be there. And eventually you become the version of yourself that can allow this energy to move through you, that you can process this feeling. And then this feeling is not going to keep looping in your experiencing anymore, because you will be the version of yourself that can feel that feeling and let it pass through and know that it doesn't change your worth, and know that you don't have to cope in a situation to attempt to avoid it or push it away or deny it or project it onto them. You just be the adult version of yourself that can handle that feeling of being judged. Like, oh, that person is judging me. I remember what it was like when I used to judge people. They probably think that they're right. That's okay. And it's like that. You don't have some crisis about it. You don't have to lash out. You don't have to judge them for judging you. You just have compassion because you understand. Oh, yeah, I remember when it was like what it was like for me when I felt that way, when I acted that way. I understand that there's probably a valid reason for them to think that way in their mind. It doesn't have to mean anything to me about me, right? If someone's not trying to understand us actively, then there's nothing to do. If you got somebody and they're judging you, but they also want to understand you, maybe you have a chance to explain your point of view to them. But you can only do that with people who care to understand. People who just want to tell you you're wrong are not trying to understand you, are they? So you become sovereign, you take care of this within yourself, and you're responsible for your own self, not what they're doing, not what they're learning. Some people you're going to come across and encounter that are doing things that you feel are wrong. And I'm not saying that you have to agree with what they're doing and think that it's good or right. You can know that it's wrong for you, but you don't know if their soul needed to experience it for some unknown reason to you. This is where we give it to God, right? All we can hope to be is the best example of what we think is right for us. And then others can see that if we are brave enough to be that. So what a wonderful opportunity for you to become much lighter and freer as you move through this pattern and release it. It's really beautiful. And that completes your reading. Chose reflection number 3. This is your reading. Let's see what we have. The Holy Spirit will help you reinterpret everything that you perceive as fearful and teach you that only what is loving is true. Interesting. You got alchemize, healer, transmute, empath. Got brother, good friend. Got your beliefs are right for you. Express your feelings. I see the beauty in me every day. Beautiful soul. So you may not have a lot of people that agree with your point of view, you know? And you might feel a way about that. Alone, fearful of being rejected or of being alone, of or just feeling kind of sensitive about it, being judged. Or maybe you feel like you're being judged, but you know, you don't know that for sure. Maybe you have had the conversation and you know you are. Business venture. Trust and follow through on a new business idea or career opportunity. This could just mean that it's been happening at work. Codependency, and it mentions a hidden benefit for being codependent. So what are you getting out of a codependent situation? We got dad-like, abundance. I mean, you may be getting abundance out of it. You may be getting money. Date night, commitment and marriage. What's been going on here? The Empress. Three of Cups in reverse. Think about feeling alone. 10 Pentacles. Just got this vision of being really far advanced and then just having this little piece of codependency to clean up. So I feel like you've probably already healed many aspects or layers of codependency, you know, in your journey. But maybe there's just something else here. It's like it's like a little bit of a hidden way that codependency is hiding. Yeah, hidden benefit. Okay. We got imagination. Yeah, remember I said they might, maybe you feel judged, but they might not be judging. And now we got imagination. So I feel like that's part of the reading. It's like, yeah, there's something that you imagine that's not actually the case. Believe in the impossible. Interesting. So there's something that you imagine that's not actually the case. And if it's not fear-based, it's saying go for it. If it's fear-based, you know, that's something you can release. I felt when I saw the card express your feelings, I felt like that was for the purpose of seeing them yourself. Let me go on with the tarot. The tarot. 7 Wands in reverse. Ace of Pentacles. There's a new business venture. Okay. 8 Pentacles in reverse. You haven't started working on it yet. Temperance. It goes against the norms, or like maybe you feel like people wouldn't really appreciate it because it's kind of out there. Your abundance is on the other side of doing it. 6 of Swords in reverse. You'd have to leave something behind, and you haven't left it behind. You haven't wanted to. So I think you feel a little bit lonely. The codependency might be on an old system, an old way of being. Now we have dad-like, commitment, marriage, and date night here. A traditional way of getting, of relating. Behind a traditional way of relating. Oh. Let me take this if it resonates for you. Treasure. Gold, jewels, memories, friends. What do you value most? Seems like in the old way you're not getting what you value most anyway. So why are you sticking to that way? Water skiing. Keep your legs straight. So that's on, I'm going to put that with express your feelings. So you can stand on what you feel is true. Snakes. Ka, the python, is a snake with hypnotic powers. See him with Mowgli there? You're in a trance state about a way of being. And that cycle, it's like, can we break that cycle? And then allow yourself to go forth in a new way based on what you believe and without the fear about other people accepting it or not, or liking it or not. Yeah, you're resisting this. It's asking you to answer the call and also to feed yourself the good thoughts, to give yourself imagination about what could go right. What are you willing to commit yourself to? Like however dad did it, maybe you're sticking too closely to what that is out of fear. There's something that you might need to express, even if it's just to yourself, about what you think about that and what you think would work better. There also might be something like you don't want to risk your abundance if you do go in another direction. But I feel like some of you might not even have the level of abundance that you'd find comfortable. And maybe you fear not having it because if you go against the grain. You know what? You could fear not having the abundance because you've already gone against the grain. It's like, I'm going this direction because this is what I believe. I'm talking about it, what I believe. I'm being, how I am. But I have a limiting belief within me that says I can't make it when I'm like this. So it's like, okay, well, that's what needs to go, right? Because if you believe you can't make it while you're like this and you're like this, then you can't make it while you're like this. So it's like, let's eliminate that limiting belief. Where did you get that from? Dad, it's like maybe the family's beliefs or the beliefs of the people around you, or someone who's kind of like dad, an authority, someone that you look up to, a mentor. This is saying like you believe differently from somebody who's important to you, and you can stand on that, and you can trust yourself. You can create the impossible, not based on fear. You can't have fear in that mix. Like, it's like, here's the impossible, this, that I'm going to achieve. The success I'm going to achieve is the impossible for some people, but for me, it's my reality. All the stuff leading up to that is no fears in there. So if you've got fear like that I can't make it based on doing the impossible because people won't support me or whatever, it's like that's what's got to go. The belief that others don't believe in you, or the belief that they have to, or the belief that they never will. Feed yourself the good thoughts about what you're doing and just begin. It's a frequency change of believing that it can all work out. And on a very surface level, I think you do believe it can all work out. I think you wouldn't even be doing it if you didn't think that it could work out. But on a subconscious level, there's still some part of you that is feeling like that card with the fear in it. Hold on. Let me go back to that card. There's a fear that you feel justified in having. Because maybe it matches what you've experienced already, but hey, you're creating this reality, so of course you've experienced it already because you believe that. The Holy Spirit will help you reinterpret everything that you perceive as fearful and teach you that only what is loving is true. So if you fear that the peers around you and no one will believe in you, it's like that's a fearful thought. Only what is loving is true. So what is the possibility here? The possibility is actually you'll align with like-minded people and they'll get it and they will value it and they will want to be a part of it. And maybe the fear is that, it can't work in the society because of the regulations or, the limitations that already exist in the patriarchy. It's like, no. Believe in the impossible. Like where there is a belief, there's a way. Like if you believe in yourself, if you believe things can change in order to allow that, like you don't have to figure out how they're even going to change. You can give that part to God. You can just change the belief in yourself that says it can't change. To allow. So you're bringing yourself into full faith in all the places where you feel fearful. Bring it up to love, and that's going to bring you to faith, Sometimes it's like a matter of surrender, but I think in your case, it's important to find the limiting beliefs by asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that can happen? Okay, I'm going to create this. I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to express this. What's the worst that can happen? Worst that can happen is going to reveal to you what your limiting belief is. Worst that can happen, just as an example, let's say, everybody sees what I'm having to offer and laughs at me and tells me that I'm crazy. It's like, you have a limiting belief that says that you will be shunned, that you will be thought crazy. And it's like, okay, let's look in there. Let's think about that. Maybe you've seen other people be shunned and thought crazy. Maybe people have actually said it to you. Maybe you heard your dad say it every day of your life, and you're like, I can't be like that because they will think I'm crazy. It's like, well, you know yourself. You know whether or not you're crazy, right? Can you go forward without the belief that everyone's going to think you're crazy? Is it possible that not everyone will? It's like, can you know for sure that everyone will? And can you name 3 ways that other people won't think you're crazy? You get the confidence going. There's a worksheet called the Judge Your Neighbor Worksheet by Byron Katie. She offers it free online. And you can take all of your beliefs and worries about other people judging you and turn them around on that worksheet. It's a beautiful way to alchemize the energy. And I highly recommend it. And in this case, there's going to be a few different things maybe leading to this, this level of limitation within yourself. And I think you'll easily turn those around with that worksheet, and you'll find yourself on the other side of this and being so glad that you did. And that completes your reading.